we still honor the warranty no matter beyond the transfer, so.
Are you open to holding?
Yeah, we're not against holding it. Insurance gets a little fickle sometimes and, you know, but at the end of the day, if we're just a landlord and the lease structure is appropriate, there's no problem. We own and lease out buildings on our development company all day, every day, so. Whatever tool the county needs to roll over this appropriately, we're able to support that.
We have privately financed projects as well. I assume you guys wanna sell bonds on this, but we have, you know, Delaware County's a $44 million job, we privately financed and we did not sell bonds. We funded it and completed construction and transferred it in the jail, and they took over the payments from us at that time. So we've done it that way as well. Way rates are right now, I don't know if that's what you want to go, but we have done it that way. For your financial advisor, we're not financial advisors.
Anyone else have a question? Gentlemen, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you all very much.
Very good look at things and, very organized and thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
I stole it. I took it.
You took all my stuff?
Yeah.
I thought that's why when I got it.
Yeah, yeah, you had some stuff there.
Very nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you.
Scott, would you mind inviting our next ones to come in and get set up? John, either one? Right here, Bill. Right here?
No one in the hallway.
Oh, you might be coming up the steps. Okay, thank you very much. Hello, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
You need to do any AV stuff, everything go right on ahead.
We went low tech.
We'll load
That's
that,
okay.
You wanna wear out?
Mental notes.
take notes, yes, ma'am. I brought some extra copies as well for everyone. That's just our presentation today. Would you like mine?
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. No, it's our presentation. Hey, Greg, you mind if I steal that one for Miss Rep? Thank you.
I heard he gave him mine.
Oh, you gave yours? Okay.
Yeah. What would the commissioners prefer? Do you mind, we would rather be casual if possible, if we could just, or would you prefer us to go to the microphone when we speak?
I think we would prefer you go to the microphone.
Yes, sir.
When Jim comes back, we'll be ready to start.
Okay.
He's one of our council members, who wants to hear it.
Looks like I enough for everybody.
Whenever you're ready.
We will have other members of our team come up and speak as well, but wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity. Excuse me. Thank everyone for the opportunity to come present today. We're honored. Our team is honored to present for this important project for Carroll County. I know you guys have been working on this project hard for a number of years, and down to this important part of selecting your trusted team member to accomplish your goals. I'd like to introduce our team here. I am Rich Taylor. I'm Vice President of Business Development for Envoy. We have Jonathan White here. He's Vice President of Construction, Purdue University grad in Construction Management, and he will be serving as what's called the executive. So he'll be a point of contact for you throughout the project. So you'll have one of our top executives on the team throughout the duration, including John Barbie, our COO. He's going to be the principal in charge on this project. So Envoy is a company with 35 plus employees. You'll have top leadership involved and intimately involved in this project from start to finish. I think that's very important to mention. Next, I'd like to introduce our partners on this project, Chris Sosby. He's Director of Business Development with Whiteham. And Don Hurst. Don Hurst, he will be the project superintendent. He will manage everything that happens on this site during the construction project. Don lives literally 10 minutes away from this courthouse and is a resident of Carroll County. So commissioners, when you call him at 3 o'clock in the morning because you need him out at the site, he loves those phone calls. I promise I could say that. You could do it every day if you want to. But he'll be right around the corner when you need him for this important project.
John, where you live?
I live on 700 North, the corner of 700 North and 100 East, just south of Burroughs and north of Camden. I've been there for 25 years in that house. Anyway, but I grew up on 300 North.
I think I had all your kids in shooting sports.
I think probably so. We've got some in there.
Woodworking.
Yeah, and woodworking.
We type of, there'll be a theme here. A couple themes of our presentation will be transparency, commitment, and local. So we appreciate the opportunity to come in and present today. We want this to be very collaborative, and we do have a presentation, but open for open discussion. So if anybody, had a question, just stop us. We can sit and talk through the matter, and answer any questions or anything that comes up during the process. We appreciate the opportunity. We've taken the opportunity for some time now to learn about this project, and jail construction projects can be very difficult. They're probably one of the worst projects that a county has to undertake. They're complicated, they're expensive, and we understand that. That's why we believe that our qualifications and experience, though humble, we do have a tremendous amount of jail experience. Our team combined, if you include Jonathan White's, Kevin Sullivan's, John Barbie's on our team, Envoys Projects, and Wygan's and Amoresco's, we've worked on over 44 jails, over 7,550 beds, and over $620 million in project costs. We understand these types of projects intimately and humbly ask that you consider us for the project. What I think is also important for those who maybe haven't met me or members of our team is to understand Envoy's core values. You had an opportunity to read our response to the RFPQ. We feel we try to make it as detailed as possible to this project, but it did talk about that briefly, but I wanted to touch on that more. This type of project and using the DOT delivery, it's very important to have full transparency. If I could show you, we're doing a police station and judicial center, a $26 million project right now that's DOT. This is what's called our Gmp report. It's when we are setting the fixed budget for which we take all the risks to deliver the project under. This is our Gmp report. It goes through every single penny, report, item, duration, information, when we set our Gmp. Transparency is one of our core values. You will know every single bid, cost, and the profit we will make on the project, and that's how Envoy works. That's important to us. Transparency. We want to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Envoy will also share cost savings with the county. When I've talked to a number of you about the BOT delivery, I mentioned there's two areas in particular that's very important for an owner to understand, so they get the best project for the best value, and a developer isn't making more profit than they should off of a job. They should be making a fair, reasonable fee off of a job. Cost savings, one of them. We set our contingencies and allowances very transparently. A developer can easily hit a budget and have a 15% contingency in the job. And if if the developer doesn't share savings, or the owner doesn't understand how the company, or they don't disclose how the company is setting contingency, that can be another source of profit for the developer. We are very transparent through that process, and we will share those savings with the county when we work hard and achieve a project that's under budget. Collaboration. This is, again, another core value of Envoy, and it's specific to this project. We didn't just select partners for this project because that's what we thought, that because we have some sort of relationship that made it more profitable for us to select this team. We selected this team for this project specifically to accomplish the challenges and goals of the project. For over 40 years, Envoy has worked since 1982 with many different partners on very complicated public-private partnerships. Build, Operate, Transfer is a public-private delivery of a public project. Many times on our projects that we're collaborating with multiple partners, we're putting our own company assets, cash, and our owners are signing on the dotted line for the debt that's being issued for the project. So we understand how important collaboration is. our team has also worked with Elevatus, going back to their previous company named Schinkel Schultz, on a number of different jail and public projects. I think, Chris, Wygan alone has worked on,
We've got 9 completed, and we're currently in the beginning phases of starting the Whitley County Jail, which would be our 10th.
and Amoresco is currently working as the DOT developer for the Wells County Jail with Elevatus. That's a real mechanical heavy project, but we'll touch on more why it's important later, why it's important to have them on our team. The next is commitment. On any public project, there are going to be problems. There are going to be challenges. On any public construction project, there's going to be something that causes possibly a call to the commissioners of the county. But what happens when there is a problem? How do you handle it? What do you do as a team? Do you point fingers and blame the other guys, this contractor on the project or this person on the project? Or do you get in a room and do a process which we call IDS? We identify the problem, we have a process for which we discuss it, and we solve it. At the end of the day, the buck stops with Envoy, and we are committed to achieving this project. What also I think it's important to note is Wygan has been looking at this project for some time from a contractor and bid standpoint. So,
Yeah, so this is our third run at speaking with you. You might remember, we bid the first part of the project when it was under our bid scenario. We were one of your low bidders during that time. And then second time around, we came in and spoke to you about a different delivery method, brought down with me that day as well, and was asking me to come along. And then this is our kind of our third bite at the apple. So we're certainly committed to supporting Carroll County and making the jail a reality.
Envoy, another point is Envoy has site superintendents. They work all across the state. But Envoy could make more money having our labor costs to a site superintendent to this project. But we're committed to this project, and what's most important for the project? What's most important for the project is to have a site superintendent who lives very closely to the project site, knows all the trade contractors, and can run an efficient site and be there in a moment's notice. So that's another reason why we wanted to make sure that we had Wygan on our team for this response and our commitment to the project. Another thing is what drives every decision we make and what we're grounded by is our company's family values. These priorities are important to us and drive every decision that we make. And so I thought it was very important that you help understand who we are from our value standpoint during this presentation. So that's why we mentioned, called this out specifically from the response. Now, we've also done a lot of listening, a lot of talking to stakeholders, talking with Elevatus, trying to really understand the project goal and challenges. You've been working on this project for some time. Now is the time to achieve your goals. And we understand the importance and the challenges related to budget. The council, as the fiscal body of this county, has done a great job, and they've set a budget for the project. You need an experienced team to maintain that budget and hit that. That budget and costs are a top priority of the county. We have, Don, if you want to touch on, part of hitting that budget is not having to work with suppliers and contractors that have to travel across the state in order to perform the work. So having a relationship with local and trades and suppliers would be important to keeping project costs down. Don, if you want to touch on some of that.
Some of the local suppliers that we would use is Brim Concrete, obviously, here locally. Clark Lumber and stuff, I actually talked to them over at Delphi Hardware Paint, where they said they could get bunks of cubic boards and stuff for formwork. Also, I believe Little Bond can do that also. We worked, in the past, we worked with F&K, worked with them at the Cancer Center, and would like to do so again. They're my favorite contractor. And then also, you know, things that can't be gotten locally, we're working at the, Logansport Memorial Hospital, familiar with vendors and supply houses in the Logansport area. I did the cancer center, and I also did the labor delivery postpartum remodel there at the hospital recently.
Thank you, John. What we're seeing in this market is unprecedented. Bidding a public job, just bid, non-BOT, we're seeing significant increases in very limited bid responses to bid packages in the traditional public procurement model. Envoy's and Wyand's deep relationships with trade contractors will ensure those people are not only putting a number and the work, but to make sure that they respond to do the work, to convince them, to be able to negotiate with them, to get to the price that's needed to make the project work. That's gonna be very important for this project to make this budget work, is that ability to have the relationships with the local trades, to be able to negotiate with them, to get a price that works within your overall budget. I can't express that enough. You know, we understood, you know, what, the challenges that the sheriff and his department are having with the current facilities. You know, they're not sustainable and efficient. There's operational safety issues. We understand those current issues, but also how does that translate in what the needs are going to be as you work through finalizing design to address these three issues. And again, can't say it enough. Transparency and collaboration. This procurement method is unique. You need somebody who's done this procurement method, not only has significant experience with BOT, but has done this procurement method before it was an official procurement method. Envoy's has over $200 million worth of public-private partnerships, E3 delivery methods, so where we're working with the municipality to build a parking garage as part of our mixed-use development project. These things are important. And, you know, as we mentioned, our team has significant experience with elevators. So wanted to just talk a little bit about why our team. A proven team equals proven outcomes. We curated, understanding these project challenges, we curated this team specifically to meet these project goals and challenges. You know, again, Envoy is a bot developer. We're not just a developer, but we build our own projects. So we understand these important components of the process. We build like an owner because we are an owner. We own and operate and maintain over 300,000 square feet of building. We know how the decisions you make through the design and early construction processes, how that affects you as an owner of the facility down the road. I'd like to, one important part is our superior design management. Jonathan, if you wanted to talk about a recent challenge that the city of Frankfurt faced and how we helped them with BOT delivery.
Yeah. Thank you again for this opportunity. Just recently with City of Frankfurt, there was 2 projects there that for over 4 years they were stuck. They didn't know what to do. We were afforded the opportunity to come in there and meet with them. And we did that in October, and they awarded us a BOT development delivery process for that, both projects. After 4.5 months of reworking their design, understanding what their needs are, listening, understanding which things were sacred, understanding what they were trying to do for the future and for their community, we're able to successfully design projects that fit within their budget, steer the design and the design team members to that budget, and then present a GMP proposal to them, which then holds us accountable to deliver. And that's why we like this delivery method. We're tackling it together, we understand your needs, we drive it to the design, we make it real, and then we break ground on it. So both projects broke ground in the last 2 months. They'll be done next summer, and we're thrilled to have that opportunity here to do the same thing here.
Thank you, Jonathan. in our response, it was very kind of Mayor Sheets and Chief Shoemaker. I think we all have, our public safety officials on our mind, this morning after, what just happened in Elwood. But, Chief Shoemaker and Mayor Sheets wrote us a nice letter of recommendation, and I think one point is very important, and, is that, we wish we would have met Envoy 4 years ago. And, we're very honored to have them write this letter of recommendation for us. Next, we wanted to talk about, again, we're talking about why did we curate this team and why is it important for this project? So, next I'd like to have Chris talk about why we selected Elevatus. We have some interesting experience in our history working with Elevatus, including over a $28 million juvenile justice project with Hamilton County, for which we worked with Wygan as well. Wygan, sorry. Yeah,
So-
Elevatus was not the designer on that one, unfortunately.
So our experience, we've talked a little bit about both, having worked on the juvenile center, for Envoy was really important. And we'll have a similar role in this case as well, if selected. But then, as a team, with our experience with Elevatus, I mentioned that earlier, and then having done 15 Indiana county jails, we have one underway, there'll be our 16, and then we did one other county jail outside of Indiana and Michigan, and that actually was with Elevatus as well. So as a team, I think it really brings a well-rounded group together that has a lot of understanding each other's moves and the ability to both be a check and a balance along the way.
Thank you, Chris. What also is important to know is relationships with the detention equipment and security equipment contractors. They make up a significant cost of this project. Jared Bailey, will be taking over ownership of Poly Jails. They basically have, in order to procure the detention equipment and security equipment in the state of Indiana, you procure them typically through, Poly Jails. Jared Bailey, their COO, is actually a former longtime employee of Envoy. So when we're getting down to the brass tacks of the budget, and whether it's steel cell, locks, doors, other detention equipment, we have that ability and relationship with Poly to be able to provide significant leverage and through negotiations with them. I wanted to briefly mention that. Though they're not on our team, pretty much anybody you select is gonna have to work with them to some extent to get this project done, but I wanted to mention that. And the next one is Amoresco. Why Amoresco? Well, we have a specific reason why Amoresco. Amoresco is a mechanical, engineering, sustainability, and company. Been around for a long time, very, very large company. What value do they bring to this project? Why Amoresco? Well, let me give you an example. Clinton County. Clinton County, we were selected as their BOT developer. We haven't technically started on their jail yet, but one of the important components of that project, which instead of waiting for a long scoping process to fix, was their chiller at their jail. Their mechanical systems at their jail was a complete wreck, major problems. The sheriff was concerned that they hadn't procured anybody to do the work yet. Those systems goes out, that would have went out this summer, the heat we've had this summer, that sheriff would have had to ship inmates all across the state of Indiana in order to take them out of that jail because of lack of air conditioning. So we knew mechanicals were a big component of their, not only their courthouse, their annex, but their jail. And so we brought Amoresco on there, and they, because of their ability to reduce lead time for mechanicals and their direct relationship with mechanical manufacturers, they significantly reduced the lead time and cost on that project. Mechanicals for a new build can be up to 30% of this total project cost, a significant component of the budget. If having them on the team to be able to procure mechanical systems early, jump in line of other contractors and to save costs on 30% of your project, that equals substantial overall project cost. Another item that they can do is if we're faced in a budget crunch and we need to continue to value engineer things, they can actually take the mechanicals, we can remove them from a capital expenditure or amount that you need to bond and finance, and they can own those, operate them, and maintain them. I don't know if the sheriff's department likes maintaining mechanical equipment, but I don't think a lot of us do like maintaining mechanical equipment as owners. But they can actually own, operate, maintain it, and lease it back to you, shifting it to an operating cost that comes out of the department budget versus bonding against it and putting that on the tax rolls. So that's another opportunity why Amoresco is on this team. So I wanted to, does anybody have any questions about the team and why? Yes, sir.
So two things that we always think, if we keep it simple on what makes it successful for all of you on the other side of the table here, is flexibility and options. And what Rich was talking about is to offer you flexibility, to offer you options along the way at the beginning of the project, because during pre-construction, that's when you can make the most impact.
Yeah.
And then the second most important piece is deliver a predictable outcome. So there's not curveballs, there's not changes, there's not unknowns along the way. And if our team does that, then in most cases, we're successful in that your expectations. So we're trying to lay out a kind of a path on how we do that.
Yep. Makes sense. Then, Jonathan, I know you just had some of our recent DOT experience. Jonathan was going to touch on briefly, and then we wanted to make this, open it up for questions and make sure that we've answered all your questions that you may have for us.
Yeah, just one other project I'd like to highlight. We had, on the last page, we had 5 different DOTs that we currently are performing work on. Montgomery County's actually done. But the City of Carmel Police Station and Judicial Center, $25 million. We were afforded the opportunity to do this as a DOT. Again, them seeing the value, them being the City of Carmel seeing the value, and having a BOT developer who's proven their process to come in, hit a project, a very complicated project, a very intricate design, and there's multi-phase. Their existing police station is being renovated simultaneous to the Judicial Center being built. Cannot explain to you the amount of coordination, effort, and communication that's happened over the last year to be able to make this a reality and to be able to stay on track with the schedule. But one of the highlights and one of the things we're most proud of is from a probable cost. When they initially came to us and said, hey, you're awarded the BOT development, what do you think this thing's gonna cost? Right out of the gate. Between that number and after 9 months of design and awarding contracts and negotiating with subcontractors, we were only 3% off from that probable cost we gave them. We set a GMP to within 3% of the probable cost almost a year before that. That is speaking volumes to how successful BOT development as envoy with your lead can be.
Thank you. Montgomery County was a great project too. We were actually hired to, we actually did have some financing related to that work with their municipal advisors. We actually financed the acquisition, construction, and turning that project over, or just turning that project over to them. They're having a great open house coming up in the next couple of weeks. But those are just, that's just, you know, we could sit up here and talk about us the whole time, but that's not what's really important. What's really important is what you guys are facing, and what's important to the county to make this project successful. So we wanted to open it up for questions, specific questions you may have about the team, our process, anything we included in the response.
Anyone have questions?
On that last one you just said you did in Montgomery County,
Yes, sir.
just says 5.5, you said you're 3% off, was that?
Oh, that was
Oh,
City of Carmel.
The
Yes, sir.
Carmel project, the $24 million
Yeah.
project was
Yeah.
3%.
So is you above it or below it?
It was so we took what was called schematic design, which basically you're just provided square footage and a program. And we were 3%, only 3% over that schematic design at final GMP. So they, you know, very early on, basically, a little bit before where you're at now, I think you guys are approaching DBs, is that right, Greg? Yeah, so at schematic design, that's even before you were at now at design. It's just blocks, square footage, nothing finishes for anything fixed. When we went through the process, by the time we went to full construction documents and set the GMP and provided this very detailed report, is when we were only 3% over. In a market to where you can see 7% changes in cost in 30 days, 60 days, so. We just,
Sometimes less than that.
yeah, right.
Unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately, that's why it's very, that's why it's very important, and kudos to the commissioners and the county for using this innovative delivery method. Because you took a different approach on this jail, and you would have significant challenges meeting your budget goals with a different delivery method. It'd be very challenging in this market. I mean, we're seeing fires like public bids, design bid build or construction management go out, and for like fire suppression, only one person responds, $1 million over. We're seeing just strange things happen in the market. That's why it goes back to, it's important that your team has deep relationships with the people that are gonna come on the site and swing the hammers. Because they can choose another job. If they don't wanna work with your construction team, they don't wanna bid your work because they don't like working with you, or they've never worked with you before, that means cost. That means cost. And that means whether or not they'll even bid the work. So today's market is a challenge. And so having those local relationships is really important.
Either one of the two Frankfurt projects that are listed in here, are they being built now? Are they
Yes.
done? Are they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, we just broke ground on those last police station last month, aquatics the month prior to. We have a challenging schedule with aquatics. They of course want to open up by Memorial Day next summer. When we're gonna do our the contraction mandate's a little later than that, but we're gonna do our very best to open it for them and the community's needs. Police station's gonna open up later summer, 23.
Is that going at the old park, where the old water park used to be?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's already been demolished, yep,
Okay.
correct,
Yep.
it's the exact same location,
Historic TPA Park.
yep.
And we're renovating some of the pool house as well. But it's gonna be a pretty amazing project. Well, it should attract people from the region to go there. Clinton County, we've done some of it. We haven't gotten to the jail yet. On that one, we're finishing up the jail study, with them. So we'll finish that up. There's some decisions they have to make, whether or not, to renovate or build new. They are shipping, juveniles outside of the county for a significant cost. They actually have a pretty good program with the state and housing and feds, housing other inmates from other areas, so they're not yet at a capacity issue. So there's a lot of decisions to be made there. We're actually renovating their annex building. We already started design on that, and then all 3 floors of their courthouse as well under BOT. They had procured the 3rd floor separately, design bid build, came in almost $800,000 over budget. So they stopped that process and then incorporated that into build, operate, transfer. Also so we can phase it all for them, so they're not having to move a bunch of times. The annex building they bought was actually when I worked in Delphi for Union Planters Bank, it was an old Union Planters Bank location. So I used to manage that office right out of college back in the day. So it's right on their square if you're familiar with the location.
And one more point of clarity on Carmel, similar situation with the schedule. Mentioned to you, has been over 9 months of design elements to it. We broke ground in April with the renovations of the existing police department. There's an existing bank at the adjacent property, which is, you've since gotten ownership of. We demolished that entire structure, and the picture on the project there is what's gonna be built run right on Rangeland Road, so, 18-month total construction project beginning, in April, but if you backtrack, about a year of that is when we went through the entire BOT development with the design and getting to a GMP.
We got selected for that project because sort of our innovative approach to it. It was prescribed to wait until July 7th when they would have access to the bank site for demolition, and then start the new build, move people over and start the old build. Even prior to selection, we developed a phasing plan where everybody could move around within the building, and the chief of police, well, that's the old chief of police again, if anybody read the paper, but, the chief of police office only had to move once. There were some issues with the body camera wall technology, so we had an innovative approach to phasing on that project that reduced their timeline to start the renovation first, and that was a big reason why we were selected. Yes, ma'am?
So since we have a lot of our design phase already done now, what would be an estimated, like, potential length of our jail facility to be built?
So not knowing the full design, we thought this would be a 16-month build, just at this point, once we have construction documents. I think that's what we're
I was
thinking.
gonna say, I think time of year is also playing into that too. We talked a little bit, if it was, we were gonna get kicked off in April, we'd have a little bit, be able to get going a little bit, at a better pace.
Winter
But it being
conditions.
right now, if you guys make a quick selection, if Greg's able to finish documents, it's still gonna put us starting in the winter. That being said, one of the innovative ways that this is, that the BOT affords us to procure materials
Mhm.
is I think there's certain things that we wanna get out in front of, you know, pre-engineered metal building, but
Yeah.
still the portion of the project is gonna be, you know, PMB. We're gonna wanna get in line, we're gonna wanna get that bid out early. There's, other steel components, there's the detention equipment stuff that we wanna get out in front of. There's roofing that could potentially, if there's stuff outside of a metal roof like the PMB would be, if you had, maybe over the office, maybe some, membrane roofing or what have you, we wanna get out in front of that as well and get those portions, quoted out, get them on, part of our GMP, present them to you, but at the same time, we're securing that from a schedule standpoint, because we can't wait 10 months or 12 months after that piece to get those materials.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, but I didn't quite understand that. If we make this selection in the next just few days,
Yeah,
I know this is a big question, but Tracy was asking, when do you think we'll have a completed building?
well, it's kind of,
Yeah, so it's gonna be basically 16 months from when the construction documents are done, and I think you thought,
I'll preface that, sorry, this is, the construction guy, well, BD guy doesn't get talked about that.
what was your design schedule, Greg?
We've still got some work to be done with some of our consultants.
I would say from permit, when we receive a permit in hand, then it probably is more the 16, 17, 18-month bill, is that correct?
yeah, I don't think it's gonna be 18. We looked at the first time
16.
around, we thought it was 18 again, time of year. When we went back and looked at it here recently, we think it's 16.
Okay, and that's from the time we get the permit, so understand that you're already heading in a direction. Once you engage the BOT developer, there'll be some shifting, some guiding, all that stuff to make sure we're going to hit the budget, right? So that will probably impact the normal trajectory that they have, but it'll get you to a project that you can build, right? So we'll work together collaboratively, we get that completed CDs, we get all the proper submissions to the state and city. Once we get permit in hand, then we control our own destiny with the pace and cadence of the schedule.
How long does that take usually to get all the permit?
I was just saying, is that your question, is where are we at with you and how long will it take? I mean, are we looking at a spring permit time, or are we talking about 2-3 month time on your end?
On our end, we probably have, to get them the ability to price everything, we probably have 2 months.
So then at the same time we're pricing and negotiating, there's a submission to the state, right?
Which, I mean, the state is 30
30
days or
days,
less.
yeah.
I mean, it can be less, we can always count on 30 days.
You can always pay them the fee to expedite it.
Yeah, that's true,
Five
$5 grand,
grand.
but,
So if the decision's made, we're probably looking at no earlier than a January start date, because it's already August.
yeah.
And that's kind of, we're not trying to be elusive, that was the part.
And they'll keep in mind.
You
sorry.
guys would, like you said, you
our goal would always be to make sure that our construction starts and that you don't have gaps in the middle of it, so it makes sense. When's the best when to start? Is it a spring start? If we can't get the materials, that might be the case. If not, we can get it in during the winter, we get a decent winter, we get out and do our earthwork, doing clearing, do our utility work. I know there's significant utilities on the site. That's all stuff that we wanna look at immediately.
So the most important thing would be then they need to decide the bot and
Decide the
then
bot,
things can start moving.
decide the bot, select the team, have them start influencing and working with, influence the design and pricing and working with Elevatus right away to control costs and get moving in the right direction. That type of, what is called in the industry pre-construction services or design management is gonna be very important, for this project to hit your goal. And in our response, we did talk about under innovation. So, early bid package releases and construction material and procurement. So between the pre-engineered steel building, the prefabricated cells, once we're at a point to where we have shop drawings that we can submit those to get those in the fabrication schedule, that's very, very important because all of those have long lead times. Wygan also has the ability, they have, and they've been storing materials sometimes for procuring them early and as storage to be able to store materials.
Yeah,
for projects.
we have a prefabrication shop that we're also using for storage to just get the materials on site, because we can't get certain pieces and parts, we get them whenever they're available. So we'll store them ahead of time, we'll get them under the roof, we'll get them in a tempered space,
Yep.
so that when we do need them on project, then we can just bring them in, we have 100% control. One of the things Jonathan wanted me to talk about a little bit was self-performance as well, that our team actually, we're one of the larger employers of construction services in northern Indiana, one of the largest masons. We have concrete, masonry, carpentry, all things that you're gonna need a great deal of during the project. What does that mean for you? It means that we don't have to call a subcontractor, we don't have to bring those people in, we have those people. We have over 400 tradesmen and women in the field, around this northern part of the state, we can bring those folks.
No locals being used.
No locals, I'm sorry?
It's like bringing in a subcontractor, no locals are being used.
Oh, no, we'd love to, use local contractors. We have a long-standing relationship, as Don talked about, we've been doing work at Logansport Memorial since 2004. We have superintendents, in addition to Don, we have other superintendents that live, I consider in the area within 30 minutes. We know the local contractors, we know the local suppliers, we love to use local people, as long as they can provide enough people to get the job done, that's the biggest piece. And that'll be our job during pre-qual, is to make sure that while we're putting together pricing, that it's not just price, it's the ability to complete the work in the time that we require it to be done.
Right.
When we went to bid before, the only local contractor that submitted a bid that was for F&K, dirt work.
Mhm.
But in our case, we would have been using, I'm trying to think if we, which package it's been a couple of years, but we would have been using local suppliers for our stuff. So Don would have been your superintendent on our piece. Again, I understand we're not from town here, but, as far as supplying us materials, we've been, and we do the same thing as town.
And I would also add to that, if you have folks that you would like to be able to look at certain aspects of the project,